This video contains spooky imagery, flashing lights and dark content. Viewer discretion advised. Number 15. Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl.
Stalker takes place in an area known as the Exclusion Zone, where a second fictitious Chernobyl meltdown has caused the remaining wildlife to become horrible mutants. Furthermore, the disaster has led to valuable artifacts surfacing in the area for ambitious scavengers to recover and sell. The game's excellent use of real-world assets gave rise to realistic and highly detailed environments, such as the abandoned amusement park at Pripyat. Along with the game's excellent ambient sound effect, Stalker's environments create an eerie atmosphere of desolation and loneliness that quickly turns to peril when the mutants come forth.
Number 14. Call of Cthulhu.
You take the role of a lone investigator looking into what happens to be an evil cult that seems hell-bent on giving birth to a new race of creatures. The game's unusually bare interface helps enhance its psychological horror elements. Your character's history of mental problems also helps blur the line between reality and fevered dream.
Number 13. The Suffering.
The Suffering puts an action spin on traditional survival horror, so you spend more time shooting at demons than solving puzzles, which is good. This is another game that really works on you psychologically and gives you a number of moral tests, which determine whether you're an innocent man or a cold-blooded murderer.
Number 12. Ju-On: The Grudge.
Advertised as a haunted house simulator, Ju-On takes a unique approach to the horror genre. You won't find any guns, bats, chainsaws, etc. You're just equipped with a flashlight as you attempt to flee a haunted locale. Ju-On doesn't attempt to tell a story, it simply wants to scare you and then scare you again. And to that extent the game is certainly effective, with no shortage of startling images or noises. The game uses lighting very effectively, as the flashlight can only illuminate so much of the screen. The flashlight also adds an element of suspense. If you run out of batteries, it's game over.
Number 11. Aliens vs. Predator 2.
The video game extension of two of the most famous science fiction movie franchises ever made offered players a choice of 3 gaming experiences. Playing as the Marine was a completely different story than that of the Predator or Aliens. To stand any chance of survival, they were forced to embrace knife-edge tension while listening out for any scuttling, clank or scratching down the game's many dark corridors. The beeping noise of the motion tracker could ratchet up the tension and increase the player's heartbeat in seconds.
Number 10. Dead Space series.
Dead Space is a masterclass in sustained terror. Nearly every single aspect in EA's horror sci-fi epic is engineered towards plunging the player into a sea of never-ending tension and leaving him there. The Wii version is a first-person shooter on rail shooter, and much of the jump scares and horror-induced fun from the original are seen here too. It can be said that Dead Space's fight techniques have been copied from every single sci-fi horror film ever made, but that doesn't stop the end result from being a glorious whole on its own right.
Number 9. Doom 3.
Wandering the seemingly abandoned Martian space station gives many players the creeps. Sure, you can guess when something bad is about to happen, and you'll be right most of the time. That doesn't mean you won't think twice before entering every room. The music is virtually non-existent, and the game relies on dark ambient breathing found in each room. The monsters attack the player from dark corners, and there are some great moments that you'd want to witness again and again. Doom 3 works the horror angle in a number of different ways, and is pretty effective overall.
Number 8. Resident Evil series.
While Resident Evil can't lay claim to being the first survival horror video game, it created the most effective horror experience of its day. By restricting view, movement, and ammunition, players were left feeling completely vulnerable against the unholy beasts that were set against them.
Number 7. Siren series.
Siren is all about delivering a true-to-life feel of terror, which it does frightening well. It invented the sight jacket mode, which allowed players to see through the eyes of the monsters, and is often used in clever ways to solve puzzles and sneak past enemies. Much like any horror game, Siren also utilizes lighting and shadows to great effect, but it is the haunting groans and wails that will stick with gamers the longest, and ensure that the lights stay on every night after playing.
Number 6. Condemned Criminal Origins.
Condemned follows the exploits of FBI agent Ethan Thomas on the trail of the serial killer. Unbeknownst to Thomas, he's actually hunting down the source of a pure and unfiltered evil. Thomas's experiences away from the safety of the Bureau seem to be filled with unfocused malevolence, from the attacks from gangs of psychotic homeless people to the atmospheric crime scenes. The scene involving mannequins in the abandoned shopping mall has burned itself into the traumatized memory of anyone who's ever played this game. Disturbing doesn't even begin to cover it.
Number 5. Fear Series.
The game's title says it all. Monolith's Fear is considered by many as a modern-day horror first-person shooter. Why? Well, you certainly will know why when you've played it. Players are thrown into a fast-paced first-person shooter where supernatural elements, intense gunfights, and jump-out-your-seat moments arise. The clever use of lighting, sound, and shadows will leave players' minds racing and thinking things are there when they really aren't. This game demands players to always remain alert for who knows what is lurking around the corner. With some truly spectacular visual effects, it's a wonder why Fear is high up on this list.
Number 4. Amnesia. The Dark Descent.
Amnesia is designed to frighten you, but not with just wobbly camera work, but with some remarkably ghoulish enemies. Here's the problem. There are absolutely no weapons at all, and this sets the player on edge, because the only thing to do when you see something bad is to run. Each room, corridor, or chamber contains only a few sources of light, but most of them aren't even illuminated. There's tinder boxes, but not that big of an amount. And you have a lamp, but the oil burns pretty quickly, and it's extremely scarce to find. In other words, light is a resource to be managed throughout. Without it, you will slowly grow to be insane. For now, the awful biting and crunching sound that seems to follow you so often seems to be sticking with many players for long after they've played.
Number 3. Fatal Frame Series.
Fatal Frame gives the players a special camera rather than a gun with which to dispatch the ghosts that haunt these games, which is a nice change of pace from most horror games. The games tell of ancient Japanese rituals and legends and have a storytelling style similar to recent films like The Ring and The Grudge. The Fatal Frame games are well put together and wonderfully horrifying.
Number 2. Silent Hill Series.
The Silent Hill games are an undeniable classic in the survival horror genre. Like many of the titles on this list, Silent Hill has borrowed a lot of horror movie techniques, including the angled camera shots, ominous sound effects, and shuffling, spasmodic movements to highlight the otherworldliness of the game's horrific creatures. No other series does creepy, twisted, blood-soaked horror better than Silent Hill. These games aren't stereotypical screamers. Instead, they rely on horrific images and things that will work the player mentally until they're so scared and afraid to turn out the lights.
Number 1. Penumbra Series.
In the game, the player traverses some truly dark and disgusting environments. The atmosphere is so doom and dread-filled it's almost real. Progress reports, diaries, letters, and wreckage all detail the downfall and insanity of the area. You will hear some odd sounds as you explore the complexes, and a lot of the sounds really mean something. There are monsters in the game, so this is not Half-Life or Doom 3. Games like that are good, but you always feel a bit safer when you're holding some serious firepower. Here you have to use your environment to save yourself. Perhaps you can quickly pile up some crates in front of a door to keep something evil at bay, or trap an enemy in a room by shutting the door. While you can hit monsters by swinging tools at them, it really isn't the best solution. Using new techniques, the Penumbra series pulls you into this dark web very effectively and will scare the hell out of you. And given that it's only $20 and can be had almost instantly as a digital download, missing this fun example of fear and fun would really be scary.